You know Graybar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Graybar does that.
Hey there, and hello, and welcome into this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast from MILB.com. My name is Tyler Mon, Sam Dykstra in New York City. I don't know when people are going to be listening, so I thought good day was all-encompassing.
That is good. I mean, it's always a good time to say good day.
Good day.
You
good day to all of
you spent some time in Australia.
I did.
It's a,
Yeah, it's a catch-all of a greeting. It works, right. And especially if you're listening to this when the sun is up, then you're pretty well covered. If it's like 8 p.m., then it's like, what is this guy doing?
Somebody's listening, like their whole routine is listening to us before they go to bed.
Right,
exactly. On Thursday or Friday night.
We put them to sleep.
Like, oh man.
I gotta get up and do things.
Yeah, my routine is all thrown off now.
The way it normally works when people take their cues from podcasts. So we got a lot to get to this week on the official podcast of Minor League Baseball as we welcome you in. I am Tyler. He is Sam, as noted. There's so much going on in the baseball world, despite the fact that the season is behind us, and we have so much to cover. But before we do, thanks for finding us wherever you did. You can give us a rating and a review and a subscription on Apple Podcasts and Google Play and Spotify and elsewhere. And get in touch with the show if you would like, podcast@MILB.com, as we near some important milestones of the offseason, headed toward what we hope is some normalcy in 2021. And so much to get to this week. And we will start with, you're hearing this on Friday, November 20th, if you are listening to us on the day this podcast is out. And this is a big day on the baseball transactional calendar in 2020 because 40-man roster decisions must be made today. Prospects who would be eligible for the Rule of 5 draft have to be added to their major league clubs' 40-man rosters today, ahead of the December 10th Rule of 5 draft. And Sam had a really good tool shed in which he looked at some of the biggest names among prospects who could be eligible for the Rule of 5 draft if they are not added to 40-man rosters. I know we've already had some top prospects who have been added to those 40-man squads, but Sam, give us the lowdown on what's going on ahead of this Friday deadline.
Yeah, this Friday deadline is going to be one of the most interesting that has happened in my tenure here at MILB.com for somewhat obvious reasons, right? Like there was no minor league season this year. We didn't get to see guys who were Rule 5 eligible this year really prove themselves on the field. Yes, some of them were at alt sites. Even more of them were playing an instructional league this fall. But in terms of, hey, you started out at Class A Advanced, you moved up to AA, you moved up to AAA from there. You really showed us something. Here's a 40-man spot. That didn't happen this year. And even as we've discussed so much on the show and discussed with others, the guests we brought on, the players who played at these alternate sites or at Instructs, a lot of it was against people within their own organization. Sometimes you have coaches playing the outfield spots. Like it's based off data. You're not getting as many at bats or as many innings as you would otherwise. It's difficult to make a judgment. Now, nobody knows these players better than their own organizations for the most part. There were sometimes trades that happened in the middle of the season, thinking of somebody like Taylor Trammell coming over from the Padres to the Mariners. Mariners got to know him a little bit at the alt site, a little bit at Instructs this year. They knew who they were getting anyways. He's a top 100 prospect. He's going to be protected. But a lot of what these teams are going to be doing is relying on what guys showed in 2019 and in the little morsels that they could in 2020. So how these decisions are made is going to be fascinating. Who gets left behind, who gets left vulnerable is going to be really interesting. And I'll also throw out the Rule 5 draft when we get to that in December is also going to be fascinating to watch. First we got to clear this hurdle, but part of me says, and I know there's been some people out there who believe that it could be an active Rule 5 draft this year because teams' finances are severely limited. Acquiring a player in the Rule 5 draft is extraordinarily cheap. They're going to be paid a rookie salary. If you can fill a hole on a rookie salary, that's going to be much better than going out and signing a free agent. That said, the other side of the coin is you are drafting somebody who your scouts in all likelihood have not seen in 2020. You're basing that off 2019 data. So these 40-man decisions are going to be a lot easier to make than Rule 5. We could see a very inactive Rule 5 draft, or we could go the other way and see a very active one. I would lean towards inactive. I would be very surprised if we see a lot of guys picked this year, just because you don't even want to take the risk of trying to carry a guy on the major league roster for an entire season if you have limited info on that player. But we'll cross that when we get to it. First, this 40-man decision. There are 7 prospects in the top 100 who need protection. All of them are going to be protected. They are Forrest Whitley, Matt Manning, Nolan Jones, Taylor Trammell, who I already mentioned, Brandon Marsh, Geraldo Perdomo, and Jordan Balazovic. All 7 are going to be protected there. There are some other interesting decisions that are going to have to be made. And all of this comes down to how much room on the 40-man do you have and how much room are you willing to create? Some of these teams, I think the Tampa Bay Rays, for example, we talk about them having such a deep system and such a deep, even major league team. As it stands right now, the Rays have 39 guys on their 40-man. They really would love to add Josh Lowe, their number 10 prospect, who would be a top 5 prospect in a lot of other systems. So they can do that. But if they want to add anybody else, they're going to have to create room. So maybe we could see some trades on Friday. Maybe we could see some guys getting DFA'd. They're going to wait until the last minute. Teams are going to have to get creative if they want all these prospects to get on there. But some of these decisions are no-brainers. As Tyler mentioned, we already saw the Cardinals add their number 4 prospect, Ivan Herrera, catching prospect, somebody who has above average potential both at and behind the plate. You don't want to leave him vulnerable. Some of these decisions that are like right on the line that are, could go either way. It'll be fascinating to see how teams decide that. And what I'm going to be looking for is if we see a lot of these toss-up prospects get left off, I think that's going to tell us that we're in for an inactive Rule 5 draft. Because a lot of teams are going to be betting, hey, we wanted to add this guy. We don't want him taken in the Rule 5 draft, but we're willing to take that risk because we know none of you have seen him. And that's kind of the case to tie this in with an interview we're having later. Chris Rodriguez in the Los Angeles Angels organization, he's their number 2 pitching prospect. He's their number 6 prospect in the entire system. He should be protected. Like, you don't want to lose a pitching prospect as good as him, especially at a time right now when the Angels, their biggest bugaboo in the last few years has been pitching. They find it really difficult to develop starting pitchers and get them to stick. Chris Rodriguez could be that guy. You don't want to lose him. That being said, he's been extremely limited in ways we'll talk to him about with back injuries and surgeries. And, he's only thrown, I think, 9 1/3 innings since 2018. Yes, he threw a lot at Instructs this year. Yes, he threw a lot at the alt site. But teams haven't seen him. So if you're willing to take a risk on a guy who's only thrown 9 1/3 innings since 2018, and those 9 1/3 innings came at Class A advanced, maybe the Angels are willing to risk it. I would hope not. Rodriguez, it sound in our conversation with him, sounds like he put in a lot of work. It sounds like the stuff is back and at a good spot. He mentioned throwing in the high 90s. That's encouraging. But keep an eye out for that. If your favorite organization has some prospects who are kind of on the line and they choose not to protect them, probably means we're in for an inactive Rule 5 draft. If they do protect them, okay, the Rule 5 draft is going to be a little bit more interesting then. And that's what I hope. I want these guys getting one step closer to the majors. That's what the 40-man roster is there for. It's a big moment in their careers. And I would love to see them rewarded in that way. So keep an eye out on the transaction wire. We'll have a story running all day Friday, updating with who gets added and who's been protected. We'll see where things go after that.
Yeah, a lot of stuff to keep an eye on in a very active day, at least, on the Major League Baseball, Minor League Baseball calendar. And that brings us to topic number 2, which is also another Major League, Minor League. I can't even say it's really like a moment in time because it's been stretching out now over the last couple of weeks in which we are starting to get some more information on what the minor league picture is going to look like in 2021. Just today, we're recording this on Thursday, the 19th. The Rochester Red Wings, formerly the AAA affiliate of the Minnesota Twins, now announcing themselves as the new AAA affiliate of the Washington Nationals. So geographically, a lot easier maneuver there for Washington, which had been all the way on the West Coast in Fresno. We're also seeing reports that the possibly formerly independent Sugar Land Skeeters will be a new affiliate of the Houston Astros. We already know that one formerly independent team is being incorporated into the affiliated minor league structure with the Somerset Patriots joining the New York Yankees organization. For a while, it seemed like we were probably going to get some sort of just individual announcement as to what all of the minor leagues would look like going forward. But now it's starting to look like maybe this is just the way that things are going to play out, where we'll start hearing about these affiliations as they happen. But obviously very good news for Rochester. And that's a community that's had baseball dating back, in an affiliated sense for over a century. And that's something that will continue now. And it presents a much easier structure for their new major league affiliate.
Yeah. And then, the way this is coming out is, it feels like it's in individual cases at this point. It's like who's involved in the decision making and all of that. Part of the reason why the Nats came out is Chuck Schumer, the senator from New York, and Senator, the minority leader in the Senate, just coming out and announcing like we've come to an agreement to keep minor league baseball in Rochester, and then things kind of stonewall things kind of build up from there. So that's one reason why we know Rochester ahead of hopefully a league-wide announcement in which everything else gets confirmed. Sugar Land, coming from independent ball, joining the Houston system, that has not been officially confirmed in the way that Rochester has. Rochester has put out a story, saying we're now a Nationals affiliate. That one's definitely on the cards. Sugar Land, it's widely been reported, including by MLB.com. So definitely expect that. But what is the key theme here from these two ones that we have heard in the past week? It's that now affiliates are really getting closer to the major league club in a way that part of this whole redesign and this reorganization has been to limit travel, make sure minor leaguers aren't getting stuck on buses and planes for a long time and spending a lot of their time, traveling. Now you go just to look at Rochester, the Nats, they had a real problem having their AAA affiliate in Fresno. Fresno is about 2,800 miles away from Washington, D.C. It got to the point where if they thought a guy was major league ready, they might put him at AA Harrisburg just because it would be an easier call up at that point. Rochester's now 400 miles away. So we're not going to see that same issue with the Nats in their system. Hopefully guys are able to move up to AAA and show that they're major league ready there and can get called up so much more quickly. Sugar Land, just outside Houston, that's going to be a simple call up when that time comes. So again, we still expect the majority of these major league, minor league partnerships to be announced at the same time. And hopefully that's coming in a few weeks, if not sooner. But individual cases, sometimes things are going to get confirmed in drips and drabs, and we'll bring them to you as we hear them.
And finally, some very cool news from the world of Major League Baseball last week. We're obviously kind of late in the cycle for this because this news broke just after we recorded last week. But Kim Ng is the new general manager of the Miami Marlins, becomes the first woman to be GM of any of the four major men's professional sports leagues in the United States. Also baseball's first Asian American general manager, and someone who has more than paid her dues in this game. Started in baseball as an intern. She's worked in baseball operations for the majority of her career and has been a candidate for some GM jobs in recent years, but finally lands this Marlins gig at a very exciting time to be in that organization. They've got a loaded system, obviously a postseason appearance this year. This is a fun time to be a Marlins fan, and an even more exciting time now given this hire.
Yeah, and just to point out that I think Farhan Zaidi is also of Asian descent, so now we have two, which is great for representation of MLB front offices. But this is such an awesome hire by the Marlins. Kim Ng has really put in her time. She started out with the White Sox. She's worked her way through the Yankees organization with the Dodgers. Then she came up through MLB. And, this is huge just to have that glass ceiling broken. A lot of people have talked about that during the week. So, I'm not going to draw too much attention to that other than just note that happened and how big that is and how much that means for a lot of people in baseball, just to see somebody like Kim Ng in that role. But to have her take over that role is also a very interesting time in the Marlins system. Looking at where they stand right now, they were a surprise team in 2020. Yes, they got to the postseason because the playoffs were expanded in this weird year. But they're clearly an organization about to take off. Their farm system is one of the best in baseball. We saw a lot of those guys contribute to the major league team in 2020, Sixto Sanchez being chief among them, but Jazz Chisholm got looks, Jesus Sanchez got looks. A lot of their big names are about to arrive. JJ Bleday, who we talked to this summer, isn't that far away, even though he didn't get to play minor league baseball this year. A lot of people thought he was very advanced coming out of Vanderbilt. They took another college pitcher in Max Meyer. A lot of people think he could move quickly as well. The Marlins are going to be contending very quickly. So for her to take over this job right now is interesting because now she's going to be able to mold the team, the next big contender in Miami, in a way that she wants. And she has experience, working with the Yankees organization. And a lot of the Marlins front office right now came from the Yankees. Gary Denbo used to be director of player development for the Yankees. Now he's running both scouting and player development with the Marlins. Obviously, we know Derek Jeter is heading the Marlins right now. There was a picture going around of him with Kim Ng during her Yankees time. So there is some trust there already. There's probably some knowledge in the way they're trying to work that system. But I'm really excited to see what she can do in this role. This is not just a hire to get a woman in that chair. Kim Ng has put in the time, and a lot of people have said she might be the most overqualified candidate to ever get a GM job. You're really going to see what she takes with this job and runs with it and goes from here. Because the Marlins are coming and they're going to really be challenging the Braves, who have dominated that division for the last couple of years. The Phillies have tried to spend and tried to get to that next level. We'll see if they can do it. The Mets have a new owner now, and they're going to try to be breaking through. And the Nets won a World Series in 2019 and are still hoping to contend. So that division is going to be a lot of fun. Really excited to see what Kim Ng can do in that new role with the Marlins.
So with that, we'll wrap up our opening segment on this week's episode of the show before the show. But Sam noted, we got a fun conversation coming up. Chris Rodriguez, who is the 6th ranked prospect in the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim organization, joins the show to talk about the looming Rule 5 draft and possible 40-man roster selection, his recovery from a crazy kind of back injury, and all that and more coming up next.
This past year has shown us that without your health, you have nothing. If you're not well, you can't work, look after yourself, or take care of your family. You can't enjoy the life you've worked so hard to build. That's why you need to prioritize taking care of your long-term health today, before it goes from good to bad to worse. So invest in your long-term health with Forward. Forward is intelligent medicine with a personal touch. Their doctors are dedicated to catching top killers like cancer and heart disease early before it's too late. And catching them early could save you tens of thousands of dollars in the long run. Everyone's health history is different, which is why Forward doctors personalize a health plan with you, based on your genetics, lifestyle, and biometrics to achieve long-term results and ensure nothing gets missed. It's time to invest in a doctor that's invested in you. Go to GoForward.com today to protect your future health. That's GoForward.com. GoForward.com.
Well, it's been a big week in the Angels organization, and that is where we head on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast, the official podcast of minor league baseball. As the 6th ranked prospect from the Angels system, right-handed pitcher Chris Rodriguez joins the show from Miami, the hometown of the righty who hopefully will be getting to see you back on a mound here in the next 6 months or so when the world maybe returns to normal. But Chris, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, and I appreciate you guys having me on.
Absolutely, man. It's great to talk to you. It's been obviously the weirdest year that any of us have ever known in 2020, but there are a lot of things that can be good things that can be taken out of this year, and we're going to get to all of that. But first things first, what has this year been like for you? We've talked with so many guys about what it was like, being in camp when things got shut down back in March, and then obviously, trying to figure out what the major league season was going to look like and if we were going to have a minor league season and all that. But now that we are into what would even ordinarily be the off season. What have things been like for you? Are you getting work in? Are you on a mound? What are the last 8 months been like?
Well, I was actually very fortunate enough to actually be able to go to the alternate site and kind of be able to get my innings in, because these past 2 years have been kind of rough. So it was really, really nice to be able to get back on the mound and kind of not just get back on the mound, but also be facing guys who are big league caliber players and kind of being able to pick up their brains and, seeing like how my stuff plays against the way they hit. And, so it was a big blessing being able to play versus them and also being around the guys. But after the alternate site, I did go to instructional league as well to get more innings in. So I was able to get a good amount of innings in. I was able to talk to a lot of people, and I was able to get my experience that I've lost in a short period of time, which has been great.
The last couple of years for you have been, I would imagine, pretty trying in certain ways. You missed 2018. You pitch in 2019, pretty limited, 9 1/3 innings. And I know, for a lot of people, they'll look at that on a baseball reference page or an MILB.com page and think, oh, Tommy John surgery, something like that. But it wasn't for you. It was an issue in your back, a stress reaction and a fracture. For people who are unfamiliar with what that means, how did that come about for you, and how did it sort of manifest itself? Like, how did you notice that something was wrong, and what was that whole process like going through? Eventually you have surgery, but take us through kind of that whole track of your career.
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, it was tough. I was throwing one day, and I was feeling some little achiness in my back, so I kept continuing to throw. I was lifting, I was throwing, I was trying to push it, thinking that it was more of like a sore muscle type of thing, and ended up getting an MRI later that off season, and it ended up actually being a stress reaction. And at first, initially, nobody was really worried. They're like, you know what, we're gonna wait a few weeks. We're gonna give the bone time to heal up and hopefully come together and kind of repair itself. And so I did that, and then so we did that rehab, and that was through spring training. And as I started throwing again, it kind of came back up, and got another MRI. And basically what had happened was my L5 vertebrae actually was fully fractured. So it took that whole year to get the left side to heal up. And then as I started throwing later that year in 2018, the right side started coming up, and it turned out that the right side was actually fractured as well.
Man.
So yeah, it was a tough little roller coaster there. But I was able to kind of push through spring training that year, and also, get those 9 innings in. Like, for a lot of people, they're like, oh, 9 innings isn't a lot, but I was able to throw those 9 innings with basically a broken back. And let me tell you, I was sleeping on the floor just to see if that would help my back. I couldn't sit down during my outings. Like, I was really pushing through it. But it was probably best to just finally get another MRI, and, gave the doctors clearance to get the surgery. And so I did. And, I couldn't be happier with the way Dr. Watkins approached the surgery and also did the surgery. So, and yeah, now here I am and ready to go and feeling fully healthy. Thank God.
Yeah. No, I'm really glad the way this started by you saying you were at the alt site this year and at Instruct, so everybody at home knows that it ended on a positive note. But at what point did you feel fully back, like ready to go? Was it this spring? Was it even last offseason? Like, at what point did you think 2020 was a year that you could really get back on a mound and give it 100% again?
It was honestly spring training of 2020. I was just throwing, and it felt normal. I felt stronger. I felt like I did the right thing to prepare in that 2019 off season for that 2020 spring training. And also what really helped was the Angels medical staff at the time, and also the strength training staff as well. We kind of built this program, and it really helped. And I came back that 2020 spring training, feeling good, throwing as hard as ever, and also really having a good feel for my stuff, which I was really proud of, considering I took a year off basically of throwing. But yeah, I'll say 2020 spring training, the beginning of it at least, like the few days we really had of spring training, that's when I started feeling really good and like myself.
Yeah, and so many of the questions we've asked guys over the last couple of months is like, what did you do to stay in shape during the months of April, May, June, what have you? But for you, that's I would imagine was even more important, because just ramping up to get to where you were in March when things shut down was such a big hurdle for you. So what was it like going through that period of ramping up, getting ready, really showing to both yourself and the Angels you were ready to go, and then having to have all of that put on pause?
I mean, at first it hit hard, because I was like, you know what, this really sucks. I took 2 years off, and now a virus hits, and now I'm not going to even be able to throw another year. So at first it was very frustrating. But you know what, I kind of just kept my head up. I was like, you know what, now it's just time to take advantage of this quarantine and really work on my stuff. And, things were closed down here. Everybody had to wear masks. Nothing was open. So kind of me and my brother, we took initiative, and we kind of built this garage gym at my house and kind of invested in my career. And so that's where I was working out at, in a garage gym, and I was able to throw with a couple guys, couple college guys, and also a few pro guys as well, and picking their brains and seeing how they really go at things. And I had a great system. I had a great group around me during that quarantine time, so that really helped me prepare for that alternate site.
Yeah, and you mentioned before, again, pitching at the alternate site, pitching at Instructs, you were able to make up a lot of innings. How many innings would you estimate, or do you know really off the top of your head, how many innings were you able to get in once you were fully healthy and pitching at Long Beach and down in Arizona?
Don't know the exact number, but I would say around 65 to 70 innings, which, I mean, it's not a full season, but at the same time, it's a lot more than I've had in a while.
Chris, on a day-to-day basis, when you get a chance to go and be around the guys and all that, it's not obviously normal or what you were expecting in 2020, but I would imagine just the ability to be around the guys, and to get out on a mound and all that. What did it do for you mentally to have that experience, even though it's not at a minor league ballpark in a regular schedule and all of that? I would think it probably still felt pretty amazing just to have a little bit of baseball back, especially after everything you've been through the previous couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely comforting. I was around the guys again, and not just around the guys, but I was also playing again. It was the atmosphere I've been looking for and that I was sitting out on for those past 2 years. And it was, like I said, it was truly a blessing. And, it couldn't have been better that the alternate site, we were mixed in with a lot of the big leaguers. So, I got to meet pitchers like Griffin Canning, who I've met in the minor leagues, but also like Heaney and Bundy and all these guys who, us minor leaguers, we look up to those big leaguers, and, obviously we want to be in their position. And, also in a couple games that had the Angels infield and outfield of Mike Trout, Albert Pujols, Anthony Rendon, that was truly amazing. So that type of atmosphere it kind of made me feel like I was in the right place. And, it kind of motivated me that much more to really work on my stuff and really pursue this goal of getting to the big leagues, and not just getting to the big leagues, but also winning in the big leagues and hopefully winning a World Series with the Angels.
You mentioned some of those names. Who were some of the guys that you were really excited that you got a chance to see at the alternate site, or, somebody that you may have thrown to that you weren't counting on coming into, into 2020 back when the world was somewhat normal? Like, what was it that stood out most to you about some of the matchups that you got at the alternate site?
The matchups, it's funny. The matchups, it was really funny because in the beginning, I got to face Tommy La Stella and Andrelton Simmons, and that was really cool for me. But we also, most of the time I was facing guys like Jose Rojas, Jahmai Jones, Joe Adele, and, you know, facing those guys. And we were just facing them once. We were facing them multiple times every single day. So kind of what that did for me was kind of we had to find a way to get those guys out. And those guys are very good hitters, and they're able to adjust very quickly. So we had to adjust just as fast. So that was awesome. And then kind of having Mike Trout in the center field, and the first game I pitched, he was able to play center field behind me. And, you know, he came up to me, you know, talking to me and saying, you know what, that he liked this a part of my game. And that to me was awesome, and it was incredible. And also Mike Stassi as well was catching me at the time. And he was really, really good at kind of telling me what he likes and what he, you know, sees me pitching it at, and kind of giving me the knowledge that a lot of these big league pitchers have. So that was awesome as well.
Yeah, and I'm obviously going to ask about that Trout interaction now that you bring that up. But what specifically stood out to you about that conversation? Like, what did he say about you that he liked? I would imagine for a young pitcher such as yourself, hearing from that is huge, especially at this point in your career. So what stood out to you, and what do you carry with you from that conversation with Trout?
Yeah, I mean, for one, we were 6 feet apart, and we had to keep our social distancing. But, you know, it was, first off, I got to the field, and the first thing he said is, "How's it going? My name's Mike Trout." And, you know, that to me stood out a lot, because kind of he came up to me, and he was like, you know, he initiated the combo, and, you know, that was awesome, and I truly appreciated that. But on top of that, I was facing a hitter. I don't know exactly what hitter it was, but I threw 2 curveballs. You know, one was like a loopy curveball, and the other one was more of a tighter curveball. And he came up to me that next inning and said, "Hey, listen, that's great that you did that," and kind of gave me his advice on it. And, you know, obviously if Mike Trout comes up to you and gives you advice, you're listening as best as you can, and you're going to take that advice and you're going to bring it to the next outing for sure. So that was awesome.
And you mentioned your stuff there. You know, being able to throw 65 innings this year, that's great to get into that routine, but you also hope to grow in terms of your arsenal, you know, in terms of where your pitches are now to where they were when you were beginning to throw in the spring. What do you feel like you developed the most over the last couple of months?
I would say it's tough. It really is, because I'm able to throw more 2-seamers now. If I'm going to go kind of left to right, while if I go up in the zone, I'm able to throw a 4-seamer, which before I didn't really do that. And on top of that, I have 2 distinct breaking balls from my slider and my curveball, which before it was more, I had a slider and then my curveball was more of a slurve. But kind of this whole process, I was able to kind of make it my curveball a little more up to down and my slider left to right, and also the speeds of them are a lot different, which, you know, that is a great thing to have in my arsenal. So, and on top of everything else, my changeup was able to stay true, and kind of I was able to become more consistent with my changeup.
And just in terms of your velo, because I'm sure that's something a lot of Angels fans are looking to hear from you. You used to be able to throw in the upper 90s. Where were you this summer, do you feel like?
I was in the upper 90s. I was like 5 to 7. Was able to touch 8 a couple times. My first outing in alternate site, I believe I was up to 99, which was awesome and kind of really reassuring, and kind of coming back from the back surgery and stuff like that, and being able to do that was really nice. And also the adrenaline was pumping a lot. So that's where I would say I was around most of the time, was the 95 to 97, and then kind of when in the later innings kind of stayed there with a couple 93s with a couple 94s with a 2-seamer.
Chris, from the standpoint of now being into what would ordinarily be the off season, what is your work like right now? I mean, like you said, your workload's a little bit lighter during the alternate training side compared to what a full season's worth of innings would have given you. But right now, this would be a time where ordinarily you get to rest and work out and do all that kind of stuff. But knowing that hopefully, 3-4 months from now, we'll be getting set to do a real season. What are you doing these days to keep yourself sort of in game shape, but I guess kind of in that off-season mode as well?
Well, the throwing program is going to be a little less. We're gonna kind of slow down just a bit, but we're going to continue throwing. And when it comes to the lifting, we're just going to attack. We're going to attack, the smaller muscle groups and kind of just make sure I'm lifting to stay healthy, not so much kind of getting as big as I can, but mostly getting my core strong and kind of make sure my back can maintain the workload throughout a whole season, which I've been doing for the 2020 season. So we're going to carry that into this off season, and the throwing program is just basically making sure that, my arm stays active and ready to go for whenever we start up again.
What's been the best thing about the non-baseball stuff? I mean, getting a chance to be home a little bit more and all that at the beginning of all of this was probably more stressful than it was exciting. But is there anything that, getting a chance to be around friends you wouldn't ordinarily have been around in April and May or whatever it is, what stood out that were kind of positives from the last 8 months?
I mean, I was able to, get back with my friends, and kind of like usually when I come back for the off season, it's always my friends are in school and kind of I'm not able to talk to them. My family's always busy. But you know what? During quarantine, I was able to really kind of be able to talk to my family, hang out with my brother a lot. My sister had a baby, and kind of being able to hang out with my girlfriend and all that stuff that kind of plays a huge part, not just, mentally it does a huge part, especially going through a whole season. You kind of miss your family every now and then, and being able to see them when you should be during season, to me was a huge step up for my mental game, and I'm really happy.
And Chris, we'll end on a few more, but one of the things about this year for you is that this is your Rule 5 eligibility year. This is a year in which you could have proven yourself, potentially a Class A advanced, potentially even Double A, that, you were worthy of being protected from the Rule 5 draft. That's still coming up. That deadline's coming up here on Friday for everybody. How much was that on your mind as you went through the summer? And, what are your thoughts about that going into Friday, about being potentially added to the 40-man roster? Do you feel like you showed enough both at the alt site and Instructs?
God willing, I did, but at the end of the day, that's the Angels' decision. I just kind of keep doing what I do, and I keep working hard, and whatever decision they make, it is what it is, and I just want to worry about my off season, worry about getting stronger and staying healthy, and God willing, I get protected. But I guess we'll see on Friday, right?
Yeah, no, fair enough. And given going back to what I was just saying about like what this year could have been for you, it could have been a chance to climb the ladder, but still being at Long Beach, you're one step away. We talked to guys all over this year being like, how close did you feel when you were at the alt site? Sometimes, you would think guys wouldn't get called up, and then somebody like Ryan Weathers gets called up when he hadn't even seen Double A yet. Did you ever feel close to the majors, even coming off the injury, even just trying to build up your innings? Like, was there any moment where you thought, hey, I really am just one call up away from the show at this point?
Absolutely. It felt really close, and it felt really close for everybody, we knew that the situation we were in was different. We knew that the opportunities were definitely there. However, at the end of the day, we wanted to win ball games, and if Billy, who was our GM at the time, didn't think we were ready, or didn't think we were ready to kind of be there, then so be it. But we didn't have a bad attitude about not getting called up or anything. But at the same time, it definitely felt really close, and we were all trying to show up at the alternate side and really prove our point why we should be in the big leagues.
And we'll end on this one. I know we're a few months out now, even from spring training, and who knows what that's going to look like. God willing, everything's going to be safe by the spring, and we're going to be in a place to have a somewhat normal spring training and somewhat normal start to the season. But when you look forward to 2021, knowing that can be your chance to really pitch every 5 days again, how are you going to, how do you project forward for 2021? And, what do you feel like is a possible scenario for you next year?
The goal is always to be in the big leagues. So, I believe that in 2021, if I pitch the way I know I can pitch, I will be in the big leagues. However, that's not in my control. I like to think about controlling what I can control, and, I'm just going to go out there. I'm going to try to stay healthy, and I'm going to do what I can do. And, if it's enough to be in the big leagues, I'll be in the big leagues. And that's where I view myself as in 2021. But we'll see.
Chris Rodriguez, a 6th-ranked prospect in the Angels organization, getting set for big things probably coming in 2021, and hopefully we'll all be back to a little bit closer semblance of normalcy by that. And Chris, enjoy the holiday season, man, and best of luck. We'll be following down the road. Thanks so much for taking the time with us today.
Hey, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Benjamin Hill is back. This is my first time talking to you in like 3 weeks, Ben. How you been?
Been all right, Tyler. I've been thinking the same thing.
It's been a while.
It's been a while, and I miss your voice. Your what's the adjective we must use? Mellifluous, mellifluous,
annoying. I think.
Annoying. Sorry, grating, abrasive.
I think that's normally it.
No. It is music to our ears.
Well, it's good to talk to you. The middle of November ordinarily means rebrand season, and the winter meetings are coming up, and all these different things on the offseason calendar for minor league baseball. Obviously, this year has been very, very different, but we still have a lot of stuff to get to this week. We're going to start with a piece that is up on the site. Well, by the time you're all hearing this, the Alter Ego competition, the Alter Ego Challenge, which has been going on at MILB.com for the last couple of weeks, voting on the best alter ego in minor league baseball, reaches its conclusion on Friday. We're recording this on Thursday, so we may have some inside info, but I don't know if we're going to drop it to all of you. We all got to choose kind of our favorites among the alternate logos and identities and all that type of stuff. But there are so many good possibilities. It was narrowed down to a final 4 of the Wisconsin Udder Tuggers, the alternate ego, the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers, the Pensacola Mullets, also the Pensacola Blue Wahoos, their alter ego, the Clearwater Threshers, who have an alter ego of the Clearwater Beach Dogs, and of course the Fresno Grizzlies, the Fresno Tacos. Tell us about your thoughts on this competition, and it's obviously engendered a whole lot of conversation.
Yeah, it's a fun off-season endeavor on the lighter side, obviously. Of the 4, there were 28 teams originally in this contest, the Alter Ego Challenge, and you could. From those 28 teams, it's been narrowed down to just a quartet of finalists, the ones that you mentioned, Tyler. I think they're all pretty strong alter egos. If I was voting, I abstained from the vote and tried to stay, officially neutral. But if I was voting, I think I'd personally go for Fresno Tacos as the best alter ego, just because, it began in 2015. It obviously has a very strong tie-in to Fresno's taco culture, the Fresno Grizzlies taco truck throwdown, which is kind of basically what inspired it. It was the first food alternate identity in minor league baseball, which is, if you listen to the show, has become very commonplace in the last 5 years. So just looking at the longevity and impact, I'm a Fresno Tacos guy, but I'm also a huge fan of the Wisconsin Udder Tuggers, normally the Timber Rattlers. They've been doing a Salute to Cows promo and a tribute to Wisconsin's dairy industry every year since 2009. So in the same way, that one's deeply rooted, but they didn't begin the Udder Tugger identity, I believe, until 2019. So that is new, but it's a great way to expand upon the Salute to Cows theme night. And that is a truly bizarre logo, a cow, not a car. Those are two different things, but a cow on 2 legs with its, charging and its underbelly udders pink and protruding from this cow. So you don't see too many underbelly themed logos and udders and things of that nature displayed prominently in logos. So I like that one a lot. Pensacola and Clearwater, the Mullets and Beach Dogs respectively, those both have similar origins in that they were finalists in Name the Team contests, weren't picked, and then had a second life on What Could Have Been nights. And of course, I think we've probably said it before, but the Clearwater Beach Dogs, if you're a Simpsons fan, that logo just reminds you of Poochie.
So much so.
Yeah, it's just hard to see that thing and not think of Poochie, who died on the way back to his home planet. And the Mullets, Pensacola's really pushing that one right now. They did a What Could Have Been Mullets night in 2016, but now they're bringing it back for 2021. They're having a Best Mullet in the Minor Leagues contest, which they got some truly spectacular submissions. But of course, with a mullet, there's the meaning is twofold. You can have some fun with the hairstyle, the party in the front, or no, business in the front, party in the back, hairstyle, and also a mullet like a blue wahoo is a fish. So they're having some fun with that one right now. So a good quartet of finalists. As I said, I would vote for Fresno if I had a vote, but it's been fun to just have a reason to talk about these alter egos, which of course through the years we've had a lot of fun talking about. And
of the 28 semifinalists, Ben, were there any surprises to you that didn't make the Final Four?
I'm sure there would be. I have to look back and see. I'm going to click on that right now and try to remember who really did not make it. That might have, but whenever there's a fan vote thing, you don't know what team promotes it the most. You don't know what fans get on board the most. So it's always a little random. But yeah, there's a lot of good ones that didn't make it. If I had to say one that was like, oh, I'm surprised that one didn't advance, I think I'd go, well, maybe the Durham Lollygaggers, just because Durham's such an iconic brand and very recognizable, although that logo itself is not really super eye-catching. Rochester Plates, garbage plates, that's another big one, but they had to go up against the Tacos, among other teams in the first round. So it was hard for garbage plates to overcome the Tacos. And at least one of the two pork roll, there were two pork roll identities in this, both Jersey teams, and neither of them were able to advance, able to advance either in Lakewood or Trenton. So yeah, a lot of things just could go either way. But looking at these 28 alter egos, it's almost like hallucinogenic. Check out the article and really, and each one has a story behind it, and that's what we love about minor league baseball. They're random and weird to an extent, but they also are well thought out and tell a story about the team and or the community.
Some very good stuff. You can check out the final story at MILB.com right now. And with that, we'll pivot to a good thing that segues out of that conversation, because there are some of those alter egos in this story. Ben continuing his look back at some of the best promos of the decade of the 2010s. And it's kind of funny, this latest story, which is 2014, we were actually talking before we started recording, there are like 5 things in here that I'm like, that was 6 years ago? That feels like it was last summer. But probably most notably among those things, the El Paso Chihuahuas had a Bark in the Park jersey in 2014, which was just like a very realistic face of a Chihuahua on the front of a jersey, which does not seem like it happened 6 years ago. But there's a lot of good stuff that went down in 2014. The Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, they busted out the bacon stuff really primarily for the first time in 2014. There's a lot of good things that were kicking around the minors 6 years ago. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I kind of made the focus of the article, it was the year of the theme jersey. I get in the article into the reasons why with that, with new techniques, or at least if not brand new techniques, the sublimation printing process for the theme jerseys, teams really started to have more possibilities regarding what they could do. They weren't going from pre-selected templates. They could basically just, not do anything they wanted, but within the bounds of good tastes and, copyright law, you could do a lot more with theme jerseys. And that really started to catch on in 2014. So there's some crazy ones. I mean, looking back, I was like, oh man, I remember that one. The Inland Empire 66ers did Zombie Apocalypse Night in 2014. Yeah. And these jerseys are just like, I mean, it's not real blood, but they are just blood splattered, like huge, just blood stains all over these theme jerseys. Entire tracks.
Yeah, entire tracks and just really some of the most brutal theme jerseys you'll ever see. But I loved that one. They did it on Thirsty Thursday and tried to push the envelope a little bit. I'm not personally a huge Star Wars guy, but I love the Brooklyn Cyclones in 2014 when they became the Sith clones, and they did these truly kind of disturbing and dark and weird jerseys that had. Was it Darth
Maul?
Yeah,
Darth Maul, yes.
Darth Maul with Brooklyn written in the, Sam, help me out how you say this, the Aurebesh alphabet.
I think you got it.
Yeah, Aurebesh. So crazy stuff like that. And, I just go from there to all over the place because it's minor league baseball. The promos are all over the place. Talk about how it's been 6 years. It doesn't maybe seem that long, but it's been 6 years since Weird Al released what is still his most recent album, Mandatory Fun. And that debuted at number 1 on the Billboard charts. Huge accomplishment for Weird Al at that stage in his career. So the Altoona Curve became the Weird Al Tuna Curve, and did a Al Yankovic theme night. And I had been pushing for that as a longtime Weird Al fan, pretty much my entire career. So I was finally able to see at least one Weird Al theme night go down in 2014. And if you haven't listened to Mandatory Fun for a while, check it out. That's still a great album. On the parody front, Ward Crimes is just one of the best of all time. So go ahead and listen to that. And on and on and so on and so forth, et cetera, et cetera. I think the last one I'd just like to mention is the Akron Rubber Ducks. They did the Rockin' Bobblehead series over the course of the season, 4 separate bobblehead giveaways, all in tribute and commemorating an Akron rock and roll legend. And some really great names came from that city. Devo, Joe Walsh, better known for the Eagles, but I'm a James Gang guy. Chrissy Hynde from the Pretenders, also incredible band, and the Black Keys. So to do those 4 rock and roll bobbleheads over the course of the season was a really great thing from the Akron Rubber Ducks. And as to why I'm losing my voice, I don't really know. But here I am talking, and I feel like my voice is going out. I don't know what's going on, so I'll turn it back to you.
Well, I was just going to ask before we let you go, Ben, because this was also the year in which Lehigh Valley wore bacon-themed uniforms. Wasn't there like a rivalry that started soon after this between Lehigh Valley and Fresno about, and we talked about the Fresno tacos before for alter egos, but it was like a bacon versus tacos rivalry that they tried to start there as well?
Yeah, they had all sorts of arguments with one another and, tongue in cheek, but had all sorts of Fresno versus Lehigh Valley bacon versus tacos stuff. A lot of the specifics I cannot remember, but it all stems from the fact that the first food logo was in 2014 when the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs had the bacon uniforms. And then the next year, Fresno took that concept of having a food logo, rebranding, and then they one-upped it by actually changing the name to the food in question. So it was always kind of like, we did this first, but we did this first. But those two in tandem with one another, were hugely influential in terms of where we've seen minor league baseball go from there between food in the world of food brandings. Lehigh Valley and Fresno are the OGs.
It is some good stuff. It is up on the site right now at milb.com. Benjamin Hill, you can find on Twitter at Ben's Biz, and go rest the pipes. Drink some green tea. Get some lemon and some honey.
Talk for a living. It's not like I talk that much working at home alone in this bedroom, but here we are. I can barely talk. I don't know what's going on, but I'm gonna get through this.
It happens. Thanks, Ben.
Hey, thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Sam. Great talking to you guys.
Wrapping up this week's episode of the show before the show. We will be back next week. We'll have a little Thanksgiving week episode for you. And of course, we hope that you are all being safe and sticking to your immediate family and small gatherings for Thanksgiving. Yes, it sucks, but it's better for all of us to do our part. But we got a lot coming up for you next week. And then as we get closer and closer to what would have been the in-person winter meetings, and obviously this year virtual, but the Rule 5 draft and all of that. Before we get out of here, Sam has this week's Prospect Fun Fact presented by Nationwide.
Yeah, so this week's Nationwide Prospect Fun Fact, I want to revisit something Chris Rodriguez said in our interview with him that really stood out to me and hopefully stood out to you at home as well. He was talking about how 2018, he missed the entire season. And and he came back for 2019. He had additional back problems, and he made 3 starts, pitched 9 1/3 innings, basically with a broken back, and was sleeping on the floor and doing all these crazy things. And how crazy is that? So I wanted to look back at it and just kind of be astonished with, what he was able to do with basically a broken back. So he threw 9 1/3 innings. He struck out 13 batters in 9 1/3 innings, did not give up an earned run, didn't give up a run at all. He gave up 6 hits and 4 walks. So he had a 1.07 whip, 0.00 ERA, basically on a broken back. That's insane. You can probably sit at home and do the same thing I'm doing right now, which is questioning, should he have been throwing anyways? Maybe not. He got the surgery after that to fix it, and everything's good now. But the fact that he was able to strike out 13 batters in 9 1/3 innings, not give up an earned run in that span, is really special and speaks to what he's capable of. And hopefully we get to see that when he's fully healthy soon here in 2020.
So that'll do it for this week's episode of The Show Before the Show. He's Sam Dykstra. I'm Tyler Maun. We'll talk to you next week.